You have no idea. Good morning, everyone. This is Fran Lewis. Cindy McDonald's here with her blockbusting hit, Silent Secrets, and Cliff Slater is there, but my favorite character is Alexa. She's back. So this is fantastic. On a blustery winter morning in 1964, a young pregnant woman is found dead in an alley. Reports of the unwoman's pregnancy send shockwaves to the community. Knowing the ruinous impact the truth could have on their families, the local men deny any relationship with her. But Rachel, Alexa, and Detective Slater are assigned to go back in time. That is so cool.
Yeah, I like the back in time thing.
I wish I could go back in time thing. Well, the 1960s, people tell me, was really nice. I mean, I started to teach when it was in 1968.
Okay.
I graduated college in 2.5 years,
Okay.
for real. So I got there a little earlier than I should have. And then I taught for a very long time until my mother got sick. So, and I still do it because my reading professor does streams with me about phonics. So it's great. So how did you come to create a double prologue in the past and the present? And who's the dark visitor that shows up? Oh, that was so cool.
Well, I wanted to link the two time periods, the past and the present, the
Yeah.
1960 and the current time, and which I never tell you when the current time is because I don't want to date the book, of course.
Yeah.
But the two of them die in the exact same alley. Of course, with 60
Yeah.
some years passing, the landscape is much different because the building that used to house the bathhouse is no longer there. It is now, I think I said it was a senior citizens high rise. And the Italian market that we see very late in the show, in the storyline is also gone. So the landscape, because the landscape of Pittsburgh has changed.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh doesn't look anything like Pittsburgh looked like back in the 60s. And I grew up in Pittsburgh. I grew up in a suburb called Westwood, where Fiona lives, and she teaches at Westwood Elementary, the school I went to. So, yeah, the landscape of Pittsburgh is much different than it was in the 1960s.
I know my nephew went to school there.
Oh, where did he go?
He went to it was Massachusetts something, but it was based in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Had to
wow.
go play. He plays baseball and stuff.
Oh,
Yes,
great.
now he's doing lessons when they remind themselves they have an aunt. You know what it is? When they have a problem, they call the aunt.
There you go.
Don't call your mother and father, call your aunt. So this is my favorite character. I love Bobby. So he shows up, but this is so cool that Cliff Slater winds up in the past
Mhm,
also.
mhm.
And poor Alexa, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
Well,
how?
of course, Cliff, Cliff. Well, you mean Cliff Slater, her boyfriend. He
Yeah, I
does
love him.
does end up in the past, but that's way later in the story. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't tell anybody. So how did you bring the death of Corinne from the past to the present? And then Alexa decides that she has to go back in time. That's so cool. But the problem is, well, there's always somebody, they don't know that she's back there, the people that come there.
Right. They don't remember her from
They
one
don't know.
time jump to the next. They do not remember Alexa at
Yeah,
all. She is she is someone they don't remember. So but she is Alexa is up in her now Alexa lives in above
yeah.
um the Owl's Nest Couture shop. She lives in a posh apartment up there.
Mm.
Sleep. And when this, she starts hearing really awful noises downstairs, like someone's smashing things around down in the couture shop. So she goes downstairs, sneaks downstairs, and there is a ghost, and it's a woman. And indeed, she is very distraught. This ghost is, and she is throwing things around in the couturier shop. And just beyond her Bobby is sitting in one of the chairs, like where like the parents would sit while you're trying on a wedding dress, you know, and there's big mirrors and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting there and he's just kind of watching this ghost, keeping tabs on what this entity is doing, because he doesn't want her to go upstairs and scare, frighten, or harm Alexa. So he's keeping watch over her. And Detective Cliff Slater wasn't there, her fiance, because he is at a murder scene while this is going on at the shop. So he's not there. So she's in the place by herself. And so Bobby is there to protect her if need be.
I love Bobby. He's so cool. Everybody could use one. I could use one too. So we have Corinne. What does she do? And who is Anna Lee?
Annalise is Corinne is a young woman. She's at the time of her death. I believe I put her at 17 or 18 years old. She wasn't very aged. And her older sister Annalise, her name is Annalise Hearn. She is married to a man who has wealth. He's not extremely wealthy, but you know he's comfortable. But he's very, very tight with his money. And Corinne, and shortly after Annalise's marriage to this man, Corinne and Annalise's parents are killed in a car accident. So because Corinne is so young, they have her move into the house with them, but she has to turn over all of her inheritance to Neil Hearn in order for her
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't seem very fair, but you know, what are you going to do? You need somewhere to live, right? You're a young girl. So she wants to have some sort of independence, so she does get a job.
This is scary. And he's bad. So
Yeah.
she goes back in time, and we know that Winnie is there. So who are the zombies and who is Holden? And I love, sometimes I wish I could see some spirits.
Well, the zombies, I just call them zombies.
Yeah.
They are replacements for the person who is time traveling. So every time Alexa time travels, there's this replacement for her, so that the shop is still running, the clothes are still being sewn, and she doesn't have the quick wit that
Yeah.
Alexa has. She's pretty much like this, very
Yeah.
stagnant, static. And Winnie is left to deal with this zombie. And Winnie does a very good job. Now, Winnie's like 74 years old, and she, of course, is this little old, not Italian, Irish woman. So she's got this very heavy Irish lilt, and my readers tend to really enjoy her Irish wit.
I love her.
And her little Irish toasts and blessings that she's always doing. They seem to really enjoy that too. And but she's left to always deal with these zombies when they show up, and they show up within moments of Alexa or who is time traveling leaves. That zombie is there within moments.
This is really amazing. Now, Ryan is a miserable person, and he didn't want to pay for the funeral. So, and how did you create the obituaries? That's pretty clever to be able to write one.
Well,
I just wrote one this morning. That's why I'm saying.
it's I wrote my mother's obit.
Well, they wrote my sisters too.
Yeah, and they're the obituaries of today are much different than the obituaries back then, because nowadays we don't just list family members and who has passed before them. Now we tell personal things about them. But back in the day, it was strictly all business. It was, this is when they died, this was their family members. This is who
Yeah.
died before them, and this is where they will be laid out for the funeral and interned. That's it. Because I did a lot of research on old obituaries to see how they were written, so that what I have written is very correct. I want to be correct, and so some of them are shorter than others, depending on who was writing it. And a lot of times, the funeral director used to write them, not family members.
I wouldn't let them do that for my
Well,
mother or my
I
sister.
Right. I wouldn't let them do it either. Matter of fact, our funeral director didn't want to do it. She was like, I prefer that you write it so that you tell the people who this person was. But back in the day, most of the time, it was the funeral director who wrote the obituaries.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wrote them all, but this the saddest one was my student that died in 9/11.
Oh,
I
yeah.
lost her, but I didn't know. I
Hmm.
saw her 2 days before. She was 28, but she stayed in touch with me. She
Hmm.
was in two of my classes. She was a boil of energy, and she was going to create her own business. She wanted to tell me about it. The next thing I knew, 2 days later, I found out she died. I went home from school. I couldn't concentrate.
Yeah.
I haven't been the same since. So I read her every year. I read her obituary and I write a dedication poem. I
Oh,
put it on Facebook to Janine Gonzalez, and I put it on her a legacy thing, and they accept it
oh, that's
because
good.
yeah, it's sad.
Yes, it
So
is
now
very.
this part's really interesting. Tell us about the bathhouse and how Corinne met Jennings. And it's too bad that we can't have the pictures because cars back then, my father said, were different in 1966.
Right. Now,
Everything was different.
the bathhouses were closed down in Pittsburgh. I don't know about anywhere else. I was only interested in Pittsburgh. Were closed down right around the early 70s. I think the last one closed down
Yeah,
probably around 74, I'm going to say, if I recall my research off the top of my head. But she got a job at the bathhouse. Now, the bathhouses, men and women could come to them,
yeah.
but they were separated. The men were maybe on this portion of the bathhouse and the women were on this portion, and there were pools for them to soak in, and they would be served drink and stuff. And in the back there were massage units that you could go back and get a massage. Now, the bathhouses, as you can imagine, especially on the men's side, started to get bad reputations of dodgy deals going down, and prostitution within the massage area, that sort of thing. And of course, the bathhouse that I mentioned is not a real bathhouse. It is a fictional bathhouse. It never existed. And so Corinne gets a job there. She wants to be a towel girl. So what she would do is she would deliver towels to the people in the pools as they were getting out of the pools, and she
Mm,
and she would also deliver towels to the massage units so that they could get cleaned up after their massage. And this Mr. Jennings was a regular in the
yeah,
massage area, and he was known to be a bit handsy.
I got that one.
Yeah. And he was just not a reputable person. But Mr. Blenner wasn't about to turn him away, because back then, if a woman complained about a man being handsy, it was pretty much ignored, especially in the massage areas.
Yeah, well, he was a powerful man, so they didn't believe him, and I wanted to punch him in the head.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we all did. Yeah.
No, I went out with someone that was a cantor of the temple, and
Oh.
he was very handy with the hands. And my rabbi asked me to go out with him, and we were sitting on the couch. He did something, and I kicked him right where it hurt. And I said, if you ever come back here, you're going to get kicked on the other side. I could not believe, oh, it was the cantor of the temple. When I told the rabbi, well, I didn't ask you to, I said, you told me to go out with him. Forget it.
Yeah.
People do that. Now, this is really cool. How did his Cliff is really that react? His grandfather wound up in the past too. Now, that was really cool.
Right. Now, um, I'm trying to. I'm flipping through my notes here that you sent me. Let me find that section, that question.
Well, that's okay. Maybe we won't tell them.
Okay. Anyway, Cliff ends up in the past too, and he comes in. He when he shows up, when you show up in the past, it's like you're
Yeah.
just plunked there. And he shows up in front of a garbage station, like where they put the garbage trucks. So it's kind of like an alley area, if you will. And Slater is there, his grandfather is there looking for a man. But when I remember, Bobby calls Cliff.
Yeah.
That's right. Bobby calls Cliff because he Alexa has been sent back to the current times because something bad has happened there and she needs to take care of it. And Cliff gets summoned by Bobby, and Slater keeps saying, "No, don't do it." But there he is. And when he's there, he's rather dazed, like
How
Alexa.
do you deal with that? Yeah.
He's dazed. And when he finally sees where he's at, he's like, "What am I doing here? Who are you? What's going on?" And of course, Slater is just flabbergasted that Bobby has done this thing. And he, of course, tries to start explaining to Cliff what has happened to him. Well, Cliff's not having it. So he turns and he starts walking. And Slater says to him, "You are 6 miles." He says, I'm heading back to Alexa. He said, "You are 6 miles and 60 years away from Alexa." He said, "Just get in my cruiser. Don't you remember the cruiser? I used to show you pictures of it. And you said you always wanted to ride in it." And so he finally agrees to get in the cruiser, and he takes them to the Lazy Hound pub, which of course is no longer there in 2025. It's now Alexa's Owl's Nest Couturier shop. But when Cliff gets there and he sees that it is the Lazy Hound pub, he knows the Lazy Hound pub because of Winnie. That was her parents.
It was there, yeah.
Right. So he knows all about it. And when he goes inside, indeed, it's this pub. And it's not the Couturier shop. So as Slater is ordering them something to eat, Cliff decides, I'm going to go see what's going on upstairs. So he runs up the staircase. And who does he bump into? But the lovely young Winona Mulaney.
Mm-hmm.
She's just coming out of her apartment. Who knows? I don't say where she's going. She's just coming out of the apartment. And she's young and she's lovely, but he recognizes her and he's very taken back that he has come face to face with the past and that he indeed is in this past, and he's just flabbergasted by it. So when Slater finally gets him back downstairs and seated, he decides, this is my grandfather. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm meant to help him. And so he agrees to help Slater find Corinne Alday's murderer. And
that was a good part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now, the fun part is Zombie Cliff and all of them, well, they have to figure out how to deal with him. Now, who was Dennis and why was he killed? And why didn't she want to go to the precinct? She was specifically asked to do something.
Dennis Owl is Alexa's former husband.
Yeah, I remember.
And he is a respected businessman in Columbus, Ohio. He owns the Owl's Nest brokerage firm, which is a real estate brokerage. And he has come to Pittsburgh because something weird is going on at that brokerage firm. And he needs to get to the bottom of it. And he seems to think that whatever's going on is coming from the Pittsburgh area. So he comes to Pittsburgh to sort it all out. And he evidently comes across something that he, gets in some sort of trouble. and he is found dead in an alley, the very same alley that Corinne all day was killed in, the next day. Before he dies, as we saw
Yeah.
in the prologue,
Yeah.
he manages to send several text messages to
That's
his
right.
ex-wife Alexa, begging her to help him. But Alexa never gets those text messages because she's asleep, doesn't hear them, and then when she gets up, she
It's too
is
late.
she is whisked away to the past for Corinne all day, so she never sees those text messages. But in fact, they're there. They're on his phone and they're on her phone, which makes Errol Jones, Detective Errol Jones,
I
very
was gonna get to him right now. Yeah.
of Alexa. He wants to know. In fact, and messages are answered because zombie Alexa comes across them and she answers the text
That's
message.
even worse.
Yes, she answers it. Where are you? And so therefore, there is an answer to a text message, although the real Alexa did not send that text message.
But he
So
doesn't believe that.
Errol Jones, Detective Errol Jones, who we just brought into the storyline, was that last book or the book before? I don't remember. He's a new character, and he is very suspicious of Alexa, thinking that possibly she had a hand in her former husband's death.
Oh my God. It's so weird.
And he's calling her a liar. He's calling her a liar when she comes back
I
from the
know. That's even worse.
and he's calling her a liar to Cliff's face, which Cliff doesn't like that.
Now for my other favorite character, Louis. I love Louis. Why go to his face to describe it? So why did they question Louis? And what does he reveal? Because you can't kill him off ever.
Oh, I love Louis too. He's a solid character. You know what I
So
mean?
thank God for him, because Winnie would be forget it.
Winnie's a little crazy, but she's a lot of fun. Now, Winnie used to date Louis way back in the day, and when they were teenagers, and then she broke it off because she felt as though it was getting too serious. And as we know, Winnie is never getting married. She doesn't want to be married, and that's that. And even Louis
That's
knows
right.
I'm not going to get her to marry me, so I'm just going to have to be happy with the relationship I have. And Louis is a widower. He's a widower. But anyway, Louis owns Louis's little Mardi Gras bar down on Liberty Avenue. That is a fictional bar. Just want to it doesn't really exist. So back in the 60s, when Detective Slater, old Detective Slater, and Alexa are plopped down into the 60s, they find themselves in a church, and in a Catholic church during services, so during mass. So they see Annalise all day in the front row
Mm-hmm.
at mass, and so is Louis, only he's very young and handsome. I mean, he's older and handsome in the present, but he's very young and handsome with his wife, Barbara. She's got a child on her hip and one in the oven. And they notice Louis and Annalise all day exchanging strange glances, which of course makes them suspicious. And, Slater informs her that Louis used to go to the bathhouses. He wasn't a regular, but he did frequent them from time to time.
He sort of observed.
Yeah, he just kind of went,
Yeah, just observed. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there with his friends. He didn't do anything wrong. He was
Yeah.
there. So anyway, as the story moves forward, Slater decides, I don't remember what his role was. We need to go and talk to Louis. So they go to his place of business and they talk to him about his relationship with Corinne all day. how
Mm.
well did you know Corinne all day? And he said, I knew her. He said, how did you know her? Were you intimate with her? And Louis like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I've got a wife. I've got a child. I've got a baby coming. I was not involved in Corinne Allday's death, right? So they leave happy knowing that, thinking that Louis was not involved.
Well, before I forget, I'm going to be brave on Wednesday. The author is, ready for this? 6 will carry the casket and 1 will say the mass. He's a gay author. He's going to talk about coming out and a whole bunch of talking points that I'm going to have to think about. He's going to talk about how he came out, his what we think of the Pope, what we think of people that are gay, and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm brave. That's one. On the October 8th, I'm doing a online interview because he can't do it because he's a farmer and he can't come on. So I have his questions and a very unique review. On the 29th, Eleanor Kearns will join me. Mhm. But here's the big one. On October 22nd, Marilyn Levinson, Death on Dickens. And then the 27th, the most famous author in the world, Peter James.
Ooh.
With Hawk is Dead, his main character is Queen Carmilla. It's a possibility she might join us. Would that be interesting? On the 28th, we have Dante Baker, The Base 3. And we have finally at the end of the, oh, this is hilarious. The guy that wrote a book called Humpty Trumpty, the next 10 poems of Trump's next second 20 days, to 100 days or whatever. That's hilarious. And on the 29th, Ashley Fontaine. That is just October.
You
I'm
got a
booked
great
until the end
lineup
of,
there.
and if anybody has a book, they better tell me because I'm into December and January. So that's good. So here we go. Chapter 6. Who is Sabrina Webb and what's her role with Daniel?
You mean Dennis?
Yeah.
Sabrina Webb is a lovely young woman,
Yeah.
and she's very, very attractive. And she got a job at the Owl's Nest brokerage firm, probably maybe a year before this happens. And uh, has been she has been looking through files she shouldn't be looking through, things like that. And she has hooked on to Dennis, and he is enthralled with her, and he has gotten engaged to her, but he has never bothered to inform Alexa that
Mm.
he has become engaged. And it's not that Alexa would care one way or another, but she's kind of shocked that he would not share her with that with her, because he will send her Christmas cards, birthday
Mm.
cards, and let her know what's going on in his life. And while, as I said, she doesn't really care, she is kind of shocked that he didn't include that information. So when Dennis is found dead in Pittsburgh in an alley, she contacts the brokerage firm to see what they know. Alexa does. And who should answer the phone but a woman named Angie Rowan?
That's the next, yeah, that was the next one. Yeah, who is Angie?
Angie Rowan was um, Dennis's former personal assistant. Now,
Mm.
she retired, I think she told Alexa 6 weeks prior. And he told, Alexa that they were all so saddened and shocked by his death. But he also tells Alexa that Sabrina was in Pittsburgh with Dennis. But as far as the police are concerned, Sabrina was in Columbus because she talked to the police and told them she was in Pittsburgh, in Columbus. And now Alexa has found out not only is Dennis engaged to this young woman, but that she has lied to the police and that she was supposedly in Pittsburgh, which offers the question, is she involved or is she a victim and they just haven't found her body?
Mm.
Where is Sabrina Webb? So through most of the book, we spend our time not only trying to solve Corinne Allday's murder, solve Dennis Owl's murder, but also deal with the question, where is Sabrina Webb?
Now, I would be really, it would be so much fun to be Cliff at this point. I want to leave those out because there's too many, whatever. How does he react to the time travel? And how does he finally accept that he's in the past? And
You mean
then when he comes to, so how do you deal with that? That's amazing.
you mean Cliff?
Cliff,
Young,
yeah,
yeah, young Cliff. Like
I
I
would love
said,
to do that. That sounds like so much fun to go through a portal.
it, well, I guess it would be if you knew that's what you were doing.
Yeah, well, you see, but you have to have the right hair, clothes, and makeup to in order to fit in.
Right,
You have to get a
right.
whole new wardrobe, right?
But you
Not a
know what?
problem.
The nice thing about St. Pete, who is in charge of this guardian angel squad,
Yeah.
but we never see St. Pete and we never have dialogue because I don't do that. It's just that this is his guardian angel squad. He provides them when they plop down wherever they are, they're ready. They are dressed appropriately. They have anything they need. You know, the fedora, the four button suit. You know, whatever they need, they are ready to rock and roll. So when Cliff arrives in the past, he is in fact dressed in a suit of the time and he's wearing a fedora, which is another thing that Slater points out to him. Look down at yourself. Look what you're dressed in. Look at the cars. You're not going to see any SUVs or vans. These are the cars of the 60s. And that's what young Cliff does. He looks around and he's like, he's right. There's nothing here that I recognize. So, like I said, that's when he agrees to get into Slater's cruiser and go for a drive.
It's scary. But you know what? That time period was a whole lot better than this one. A lot of way. It was really weird.
On so
I
many
mean,
levels.
I taught in the worst neighborhood in hell in the Bronx, and I loved every minute of it.
Did you?
It
Yeah.
was weird. Yeah, they gave me the class from hell the first year. 36 kids that were bad. And I don't mean just discipline problem. They were dangerous.
Yeah.
You have no idea what they were going to do
Yeah.
until somebody whispered something in my ear, and I go, "You're right. I'm in charge." So I did something you're not supposed to do. They know more curse words than I did, but they didn't know that I could use them for vocabulary.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. It took me about 15 minutes that day, and I looked at them, and then one of the kids said, "As you're going to write a 500-word composition and apologizing to the Queen." So he said, somebody would give us 750. I said, "I just made it 1,500. Shut up, or I'll double it more." I never had this. It was, oh my God. After that, I got all of the top classes for 2 years, and then I got all the kids that were learning disabled and bad, double grades. And I loved every minute of it. So, you know what? What can I say? The time period was different, schools were different, and parents always sided with the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least this one, anyway. I was young and adorable, so it didn't matter. I was 17 years old. What did they know? So, Alexa and Bobby plus Holden get caught. And who is Brownie? And what happens with him?
Okay. Well, let's start with Brownie. Wally Brown is a man who works for the garbage company, and he drives the garbage truck. And his life was completely changed the day Corinne Alday was found, because how they found that poor girl's body was a very snowy night. So she was killed in the middle of the night, and it was a heavy snow. So her body was covered in snow. And the next morning, Brownie brings the garbage truck into the alley,
Yeah.
and he runs the body over. And this is devastating for this man to think that he ran this girl over. And so his reaction to it was of such guilt and such burden that he becomes a drunk.
Yeah.
And he still works for the garbage company and everything, but he just spends his evenings in bars, and he is a drunk. And his wife Joan and his daughter Sally have to deal with this man who used to be a solid provider, and now he's just a miserable drunk.
Because he didn't want to face what he did. But there are so
Right,
many people in the world that I know of that don't want to face what they do.
right.
So they take the back end and just pretend it never happened,
Mm-hmm.
or worse. So what happens when Cliff comes back? Does he realize he was in the back in the past, or does he not know?
Oh no, he remembers being in the
He
past.
remembers that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Cliff, his grandfather, Detective Slater,
Yeah.
couldn't promise him that he would. He said, "I don't know if you'll remember or not." He said, "I don't know how this will be handled because this is off the protocol. You know,
Yeah.
Pete didn't authorize you coming to the past, so I don't know. That was something Bobby Starr did on his own." And so he said, "I can't promise you, but when Cliff comes back, he does remember being
I
told."
I make a bet he wants to do it again. I
Well,
make a
he
bet
comes
he.
back pretty late in the book,
I think
so
Cliff wants to go back again. Now, birth murders are solved, but what does it remind us of the past and Louis? And what happens if it's solved? What does Alexa decide to do? Because I don't know if she accepts what happened.
well, if you remember at the beginning of the book,
Yeah,
Cliff was very disturbed that he and Alexa weren't getting married because they couldn't
yeah,
agree on where to live. Alexa was perfectly happy in her little her posh apartment
yeah.
above the store, and he didn't want that. Remember, we have Nathan Landry coming on the scene. And he tells Nathan, I think this might be a game changer. I have a house in the Shady Side neighborhood that I just have fallen in love with, and I want to buy it for us. And she's not having it. And Nathan asks him, is this a game changer? And he says, I think it might be. So when he comes back, Alexa decides, you know what? We need to go to the house. We need to move to the house. Because at that time, too, Winnie was having trouble with her landlord. He kept
Yeah.
racking up that rent. And so she was looking for somewhere else to live. And so Alexa said, I'm going to put in a stair lift, and I'm going to let Winnie live upstairs, and I'm going to come and live in this house in Shady Side, and we're getting married. So
They're,
that is what the decision was.
they're
Yes.
doing it now here too. Everywhere they're jacking up rents.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I mean, they don't even ask you here. They just automatically charge you another $50, $60 a month.
Yeah.
And parking is like over $100 in the inside lot. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, thank God the birds left. Otherwise, they, come on your car and create a problem even worse. They're disgusting. Sometimes I stay inside until the car moves because I don't want to go near the birds. So, what's next for everyone? What's next for you? And when am I getting the next one, Fiona and Nathan?
The next Fiona Quinn book, which is number 15, I think. I think it's number
Fiona?
15. Oh my goodness. She's coming out in November 10th. November 10th,
Oh, good.
Fallen Gavel will release. And this time, Fiona has been summoned to jury duty. But when the judge finds out she is the wife of a homicide detective, he boots her out. He dismisses her. And that very night, he is murdered in chambers.
Mm.
After he's murdered, his life is revealed, and he lived a very, very unsavory life.
That's what makes your book so good because I don't get bored.
Oh, good, good.
I don't, no, I'm reading a book, I won't say by who, but one of the top New York Times authors in the world. His book just came out, and they sent it to me to review. I don't think he's going to do an interview, but you never know. I read his reviews, and he got bad ones and good ones, and the book is not that great.
Oh, that's sad.
And he's really big.
Yeah.
And it was really, I was like, I read 100 pages, and I'm going to just do something because I said I would review it.
Yeah.
But I've got a whole bunch more coming up that I didn't even know about. And I mean, Jane Ann Kranz's book's got to come to me so I can interview her on November 18th. Philip Margoline's False Witness. Oh, you got to read it. I mean, I just wonder sometimes. This week alone, I got like 15 people, publicists asking me to review their books. I don't know why. They just do. And you have to be careful because you never know what they think. Then when I email, on top of which Amazon, I still can't review. Still can't review them because of some stupidity that happened a while ago. But your review is on LinkedIn, FaceTime, Facebook, TikTok, and X,
Okay.
and on my new site, which is I have no idea what the name of it is. Just reviews
I just got an
disappeared.
invitation to that. I'll
Yeah,
have my
WordPress made a mess, and my Just Reviews disappeared. So I
Oh.
created 2 new sites, and as soon as my nephew's available, he'll fix it. So this has been fun. Thank you very much. When do you expect print copies of the one in November? Because if you want to stream, just let me know because this is my schedule in November is really frightening.
Well, I probably won't want to stream and with you until after the holidays.
Oh,
Once
that's so
November,
January.
yeah, February would be good because my life explodes in the holidays. I'm very
Okay,
crazy
just pick
busy.
pick a date when you can in February, and I'll just log you in.
Okay. All
Not a
right.
problem. I could do that because the only one that's coming in February is Baron Bircher, maybe.
Okay.
Did you
Well,
get
you know
them?
what? When I get off here, I will look at my calendar,
And
find a
tell
date,
me
and
when.
I'll email you.
Everybody, let